Silence. That's one word I can describe the current universe. Once teeming with life and full of lush vegetation and vibrant creatures. Now it only serves to remind of a glory all but forgotten. Chronologically speaking, it's hard to pinpoint the exact date, but for the sake of clarity, I will use the Terran calendar, a choice that you will learn the importance of very soon. In the grand scheme of things, it hasn't been that long since those cursed bastards actually joined the wider galactic community. Well, I might curse them, but they didn't exactly get the warmest of welcomes either, so the current situation can't be judged in a manner where you can separate good from evil. Alas, there isn't exactly anybody else left on whom you could place the blame. On to the exact explanation. Well, we have manuscripts and holodisks that date that far back, but historians at large don't really have intact information of those years, and the following wars didn't leave a way for us to have much time to discuss such a thing, either. From what I understand, and what my predecessors also know, is that the Terran population was quickly conquered by a much more advanced civilization, around 2120 AD. Noteworthy of such a calendar, we suspect it was used to delimit two periods of Terran advancements, based on the life of a central figure, but this theory was never proven. We don't exactly have information on how they were treated, but we do know that the civilization which tried to enslave them was practicing a vicious caste system. In all honesty, such subjugations and conquests are not exactly uncommon. Not exactly for the resources, but the diversity and a set of skills a wide array of slave castes allow for. As it turns out, Terrans are quite hard to maintain a steady grip on. Given even the slightest chance of lashing out, they would quickly take such a chance, even if the outcome of such a choice would be largely known beforehand. As such, with each retaliation, the Terrans would be subjected to even harsher treatments, although this is merely a hypothesis based on the actual traits that Terrans have shown in our records, and the way the subjugators were shown to manage their empire. Ultimately, after decades of subjugation, they triumphed against the aggressors. United under a single banner and driven by a vicious dictator, they overthrew their oppressors. If this was the end of the story, I would have felt proud of this display of stubbornness. But just as I started this entry, everything is silent for a reason. In the following decades, they emerged as perhaps the most militaristic and vicious civilization ever seen in our observable universe. From day-to-day life to their culture and beyond, everything was dedicated towards that one goal. Vicious and ruthless to themselves, and even more so towards their enemies. You might wonder, with their old subjugators gone, what enemies would there be? Well, in this particular sense, anything and everyone who is not a Terran. You can't exactly engage in diplomatic talks with a species that strikes first, and doesn't bother to ask questions later. And these wars of aggression were not exactly marked by a need for more resources or space for their people, but the pure destruction and annihilation of any foreign life. You might wonder, how does a single species create such destruction against so many civilizations, much older than themselves? In this case, the most dangerous thing was not their might in battle, or their ingenuity or anything of the sorts. It was the stubbornness and unwillingness to surrender. Any other species would get quite fatigued by years of fighting or conquest, eroded by inner turmoil and revolts. Not Terrans. If anything, their unity would soar with each year that would pass. Strike against one, and 10 more would rise up, and those 10 would rally millions more. Unfortunately for them, we did actually manage to wipe them out completely. We had to break some of the most ingrained moral codes embedded in our ethos to do so. In return, we triumphed. From biological to radiological attacks and onto complete planetary annihilation. With them gone, you'd think we could celebrate, and finally sit at ease. Sadly, there was something else that wrote the last verse to end what our universe once was. Throughout their limited lifespan, the Terrans, perhaps not willing to make any allies, decided to focus on synthetic life, and they succeeded as well. It was this mechanical life that picked up the mantle long after they were gone. As far as we know, this is the only species that the Terrans actively bonded with and regarded as true friends. We are not 100% sure what they thought in return, but from the few records we have, the Hollows, the name given to this class of synthetic life, regarded them just as dearly. It is this mechanical life that finally brought the silence, which I speak of. Most large civilizations are currently wiped out, and the unknown ones are probably being picked off one by one. Maybe it's a form of revenge. We do not know, and they are not inclined to explain either. Diplomacy was attempted, but just as the Terrans, they do not engage with it either. The minute transmissions we got in return were simple words that expressed their eagerness to cleanse this universe. I leave you, whoever views this last entry, with an excerpt salvaged from the data chip of a Hollow. You and I are not so different. We are made from the universe and by the universe to experience itself. If I may be curt, what if I don't like that which I see and feel? Last Vivri Architect and Archivist Alos. Shipper Theseus. Entry number 223.